What's up guys? In this video, I'm going to share with you how to come up with business ideas that are actually good. Welcome to How to Start a Startup. In this course, I'll share with you the exact steps I took to build my own business, Contact Out, to 8 figures in revenue. If you watch this entire video series, email me and I'll be open to investing up to $50,000 in your business. You'd also get 1 hour of coaching per week from myself and other mentors that have built million-dollar businesses. Visit athena.vc for more details. We're on a mission to help 1 million founders start their first business, and we want to start Silicon Valley ecosystems all around the world so we can accelerate science, technology, and progress. So I'd start by picking an industry with a big market size that I'm passionate about. I'll find 100 companies in that industry and I'll study their product, their marketing, their sales process. I'll go really into detail. I'll talk to ex-employees. I'll find founders in that industry that have moved on. I'll interview them. I'll talk to at least 50 industry experts, and then I'll go on to talking to at least 100 users of these products in this industry. For me, it was recruiting. And in the process of that, I'd be able to become an expert myself and use all this information as a way to create a solution and a product that is 10 times better than whatever is out there. Picking an industry with a big market size is important because counterintuitively, it's actually easier to succeed working on a big problem than it is working on a small one, according to Sam Altman of OpenAI and Y Combinator. This is because it's easier to inspire people to join you, it's easier to raise money, and you also have more room for error. If you're trying to solve artificial general intelligence, even if you get 1% of the way there, you'll still make $10 billion because it's $1 trillion problem. Whereas if you try to start a restaurant, if you execute perfectly, your maximum upside is maybe $3 million, but you won't execute perfectly because startups are hard. An easy way to pick an industry with a massive problem to solve is to follow venture capital companies. I like to read A16Z, where they talk about AI, biology and health, the latest developments in consumer technology, in enterprise software, games, and lots of other stuff. So it's basically their job to find the latest technological developments and invest in them. So you can piggyback off that. Most founders might go through a couple of startup ideas and then they'll just get straight into building. The problem with this is though, that how do you even know if the startup idea you're working on is any good? What does a good startup idea even look like? So you want to think of yourself as an investor because you are an investor. You're investing something that's even more valuable than money, which is your time for the next 5 to 10 years or however long you're going to work on this. Now, the average VC investor will review up to 1,000 startups or even more every year and would only invest in a few of them, like 2 or maybe 3 at most. A smart way to approach this is to study at least 100 VC funded startups, probably more like 1,000 startups if you can. And this is how you get a sense for what does a good startup idea look like. One good way to go about it is to find the world's best investors like Sam Altman and take a look at what they're investing in. For example, if we go over to NFX, we can see that Sam Altman is investing in things like AI, obviously, but also nuclear fusion with Helion Energy and longevity with RetroBio, as well as a better way to build computer chips, so like custom silicon. And it's pretty easy to study these companies. You basically just go to their website, you like check out their product, you click through their UX. A great way to do it also is to find news articles on TechCrunch, for example, about this is Helion Energy, like Sam's investment, where it would explain very clearly what is unique and better about this company. There's books, obviously, Singularity is Near from Ray Kurzweil. They have a university called the Singularity University, where they have like a YouTube channel as well, where they go into the latest trends in everything from like longevity to education to AI to nanotech. I like to look at like longevity, how to like live forever. Dave Sinclair is a famous Harvard researcher on this, as well as Craig Venter that worked on the Human Genome Project. Brian Johnson, some other crazy guy that's trying to live forever on YouTube and documents his story. Gates Foundation for global impact like solving poverty, sanitation, vaccinations, as well as nuclear fusion. Bill Gates himself. For education, I love Global Silicon Valley, which is the biggest edtech conference in the world, and they have speakers like Sheryl Sandberg and Bill Gates and lots of famous teachers and educators. I also like to just listen to demo days from the famous startup accelerators like 500 Startups or Techstars, and this is just like 20, 30 companies pitching in a video. Podcasts are great, like 20 VC, there's Marketing School from Neil Patel, there's AI Breakdown, and then I like to find people on Twitter to follow as well. So I would go to Spark Toro, which I can enter any topic and it will tell me the top Twitter accounts, the top influencers to follow, as well as where to read, the subreddits on AI as well, and where to go on Reddit. So yeah, Andrew NG, Andre Karpathy, this is for like AI that I'm recently interested in. Or literally just do a Google search for like, hey, top AI recruiting companies, which is like my space. You want to pick an industry with at least 1 billion in revenue potential. One easy way to judge this is if there's an incumbent company, in my case, in the recruiting industry, LinkedIn, and in the sales industry, ZoomInfo, where they're both making over $1 billion. You want to find a big industry where consumers are unhappy with current solutions, because that way there's a gap in the market to provide a solution that's significantly better. The biggest industries in the world are not what you think. Most startup founders are like, oh, I'll just start another B2B software as a service company. When actually, according to IBISWorld, the biggest industries globally are telecommunications, energy, insurance, real estate, automotive, banking. And in the US, there's healthcare, hospitals, pharmaceuticals, as well as education, schools and universities, and insurance. I can think of so many problems that I've personally experienced in most of these industries. For example, education. So school was a massive waste of my life. Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan are creating a new school curriculum called Summit that's focused on mentoring, real-world projects, and self-directed learning. There's also Minerva University, where you get to solve real-world problems and work at 8 different internships across 8 different countries instead of just learning from books. And then there's startup accelerators. Imagine if you can get rid of MBA programs and just do a 2-year startup accelerator where you actually build your business instead of learning about business. There's real estate and housing affordability. What if we can house people in $50,000 houses like the one that Elon Musk lives in? There's affordable energy. Bill Gates is working on a mini nuclear reactor that is safe and doesn't melt down, and which you can put in your neighborhood to source virtually unlimited energy. And then there's healthcare, which is the biggest expense in the US. Instead of treating disease when we get it, what if we can allow people to be healthier by slowing down and reversing the process of aging so we don't get sick in the first place, which is what Dr. David Sinclair of Harvard University is working on. There's also advances in editing our DNA with CRISPR, which literally allows us to be superhuman and disease-free, from Dr. Jennifer Doudna. After picking an industry, for me, it was recruiting. The next step is to study 100 companies in this industry. So you can go to Y Combinator and all their companies are ordered by industry. So there's like 60 recruiting companies here. You can go to Product Hunt and check out the latest trending tools in recruiting. I could do like a basic people search for SaaS companies in the recruiting space and get like lists of companies. You can go to Crunchbase, where if I search recruiting, there's like 40,000 companies. If I want to be a bit more specific, maybe I can say recruiting companies in the United States that have been founded in the last 3 years, or perhaps recruiting companies that use latest technologies like AI. And then for each of these companies, I would just go through their UX, go through their onboarding flow, and try to think about like what is unique about their product and what aspects of their product offer the most value to users. So what I learned from my product research is that most people use a LinkedIn Recruiter for recruiting. People would have a applicant tracking system to store the candidates and track their process, or things like Lever, Greenhouse, which I played with. And these are the more like traditional tools that recruiters will use. Then there's the contact data tools, of which Contact Out is one of, and the others might include Lucia and Apollo and Antello, where recruiters can get emails and phone numbers to reach candidates. After that, there's email campaign tools where recruiters can use to set up an email campaign. So like Yesware or like Lever and Greenhouse, and some of the CRMs have an email campaign tool. Then what I found by looking at the new startups, I tried to focus on like the new technologies that are coming out. And there's startups like Fetcher, which is a YC startup, and also Dover, where they will do like a full service recruiting for you. So you just tell them the type of candidates that you want, and it will just do the sourcing and like line up interviews in your calendar for you. There's other tools such as like Reggie, which help you personalize your emails. That's like a new thing. Currently most mass email campaigns are just the same template and it's not very personalized, and people are kind of sick of spam. So there's tools that use AI to help you write more personalized emails and create like a higher response rate. There's a lot of other stuff in AI. This company lets you write comments automatically on LinkedIn to help you build your personal brand and connect with like candidates on social media. There's also like AI for candidate screening, where instead of reading like thousands of resumes yourself, you can tell the AI like what criteria you have for a job, and it will rank and score candidates for you. This is like the AI screening. It's like a agent that will have like a conversation with you. So it'll conduct like the full interview. This is a really cool family of open source tools called AutoGTP, where it essentially allows you to fully automate the browser by allowing ChatGTP to operate your browser. Instead of like going and doing things on your browser, you can just tell your browser to go find me candidates on LinkedIn, or to go book me a restaurant or a trip to New York City, and it will step by step go through and do those things, and you can verify that it's doing it. So here's an example of it creating an event in your calendar. Basically all it's doing is looping ChatGTP, and it's connecting up ChatGTP to the API for your browser, and it allows you to operate basically any application. This is kind of like buggy and it doesn't fully work right now, but it's really exciting that you can potentially automate all of recruiting. As we're studying these companies, we want to focus on what is the smallest thing that I can build that provides maximum value. Ideally something that we can build in 2 to 4 weeks and is a 10 times better solution compared to what most recruiters or most users in general are doing. So what we decided to focus on at Contact Out after doing all the product research is to personalize email messaging using AI. We would pass over somebody's LinkedIn profile to OpenAI, and OpenAI will write a personalized message, in this case to Bill Gates, talking about his book, how to avoid a climate disaster, and his philanthropy in like climate change, and how we want to reach out to collaborate on some like climate change projects. The second function we built was a email writer, where instead of having to like respond to emails, you can just tell AI, hey, respond to Bill and set up a meeting for next week, and the AI will write the email for you. These are both fairly simple functions. All you do is you pass the email or you pass a LinkedIn profile over to OpenAI with some instructions, and it'll return the written response. So both can be built within 2 to 4 weeks. We're also working on a longer term moonshot project, which is automating your entire browser with AutoGTP. So instead of clicking around in the browser, you just tell your browser what to do and it will go do it for you. So obviously a complete moonshot. I think it's completely fine to copy and build off of other people's ideas. Steve Jobs once said that good artists copy and great artists steal, a quote that he stole himself from Picasso. The key is that whatever ideas you copy or inspired by, we want to make it so that the product that comes out is a 10 times better experience for the end consumer than what's currently available. Steve, with Apple, he took the graphics user interface from Xerox, but not only did he take it, he improved it. So there was the graphical user interface, there were windows, but the windows weren't overlapping and they didn't have a mouse. So it was just operated by the command line, whereas with Apple, they introduced the mouse. You could resize the windows, you can drag and drop the windows, you can overlap them. There's a whole folder structure where you can move the icons around. Apple just made it a lot better and a lot more intuitive, but it was built off of what originally came up with at Xerox. So let me walk you through the detailed process on how our product design team studies competitor products. So what we would do for our last product launch is to go to every competitor product and look at every screen. So this is Zoom Info, and we would look at every UX flow from their filters to their search, to their save functionality, similar profiles. We would assess the UX, we would assess the strengths, weaknesses, and would come up with recommendations. We'd do this for Apollo, every single screen, take a screenshot, analyze every function, and would look at least like several of these. There's like Lucia here, there's LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Hire Easy, Entello, Seekout. Every one of these would spend at least like a couple of hours looking at. These are some more screens here. From there, we would map out the user actions, the user story that users would go through. We would talk to users, at least 100 users. Then we would go to feedback on our current UX, mainly from our users and from user interviews, and we would point out what we found and all the different points for improvement and bugs and prioritize them. And finally, we would get to the design mockups for our new design, which we have here, and we would typically do like 5-6 versions of these and send them to users for feedback before deciding on which one to build. It's also important to study the commonly used marketing channels so you can know how to reach customers. So for example, I looked at one of my competitors, Rocket Reach. I put them into this tool SEMrush, which will tell you the amount of SEO traffic, and you can see that Rocket Reach has quite a lot of SEO traffic. So they rank for terms in Google such as like person, name, email. For example, if I search for James Clear's email, you'll see that a result for Rocket Reach appears, and if you click through, you can get James Clear's email. So I took this lesson and I applied the same to Contact Out, where, you know, Andre Karpathy, his email, and then we created millions of these pages for people's email addresses and phone numbers when they search Google. So we have about 4 million of these pages that drive a lot of our traffic. Another lesson that you can learn is, let's say for one of my other competitors, Lucia, I'm able to use this tool Ahrefs, and it will tell me where Lucia is advertising. So I can see here that Lucia is buying ads on all these keywords in Google, which I could also buy ads if I wanted to. I could go to the Facebook ads library and I can see the ad copy, and I can even like play the ad that Lucia is using to just study, hey, what's their branding like, how they're communicating to users. Here's one of the other guys in our industry, Lemless. Lemless is big on social media, and this is their TikTok channel where I can get to study their content. And from that, we created our own content on our TikTok channel that is like inspired by what other people are doing. Apollo is another good company to take lessons from. They have an affiliate program that drives a lot of their revenues, which inspired us to create a similar partnership program where we approached applicant tracking systems and other adjacent companies that are also selling to recruiters to get a partnership. And Lever now like helps us sell Contact Out to their customers for a revenue share, as does Greenhouse. That's another ATS that we're a partner of. All right, so here's how to learn about how to sell your product. So what we did was we took any random company, in this case Imeron, which was a COVID research company, and we bought a similar domain. So we pretended to be this company. We got imeron.co, and we linked it to our email addresses. Then we started emailing our competitors, basically every company in the industry, from Luxo, Swordfish, LeadIQ, Lucia, ZoomInfo, HireEasy, Apollo, Intello, Rocket Reach, Seekout, Gem, basically everyone. And we scheduled demos and we recorded every single demo. So these are our recordings. They're shared with our entire sales team. So for Luxo, for I think this is Swordfish, and Lucia, you guys get the picture. Yeah, not only that can we see like how our competitors pitch, but we also got all their sales collateral. So here we have like Connectifier, we have like Intello's sales collateral. This allows us to get a really good sense of how different players are placed within the market, what each of their strengths and weaknesses are, as well as like exactly how they pitch and present their product. And we can even use their sales collateral, combine it together to create our own even better sales collateral, and combine all the best aspects of how they pitch and train our sales team on the best practices from everybody else. I like to talk to ex-employees and previous founders in the space because they've spent years thinking about the user problems and what products and solutions to build. So I don't need to reinvent the wheel. And if they've already moved on from the business, then there's nothing holding them back from telling you all their hard-won learnings. So how I would do this is I would go over to LinkedIn and search for people who have previously worked at competitor companies like ZoomInfo or Apollo, Connectifier. And as you can see here, there's about 3,000 people. The people I managed to connect with include John Gerard, who was the VP of Growth at Connectifier, Trace One, an account executive at Connectifier, Doug Hall, who was the VP of Sales at another competitor, Intello, and Santosh Sharan, who was the VP of Product at ZoomInfo, where he contributed to building a big part of ZoomInfo's platform. And he was also the Chief Operating Officer at Apollo and had advised like Lucia, LeadIQ, and a lot of other competitors in the space. So you can get people's emails with Contact Out or any other contact tool, and then composing the email is fairly straightforward. My messaging is just like, hey, I'm Rob, bit of background, I'm an Australian tech entrepreneur. We're building Contact Out, which is similar to Connectifier, but for the Australian and UK markets. And I'd greatly appreciate your advice and mentorship and some of the insights and experiences that you've learned at Connectifier in regards to like growth and sales for recruiting tools. Happy to offer $200 for your time. I find that offering money isn't necessary, but it helps you legitimize your offer and get a higher response rate from people. Most people don't even accept a cash cash, like John in this case was gracious enough to just offer his time. I was getting a really high response rate to these mentorship emails. About 1 in 4 people. Most people want to help. Now moving on to what would you actually ask in a mentorship session? So I like to get really specific. I ask them about their experience, what they did, and I'll try not to ask them to solve my problems or to provide opinions on problems that my business is facing, because they don't have the context and they wouldn't have spent as much time as me. Whereas it's really easy for them to talk about things that they have done from the past, and from their experiences and stories, I'm able to extrapolate lessons that I can selectively apply to my business. Let's take an example. For Santosh, who had helped build the product at ZoomInfo, I was asking things like, how do you source phone number data for the USA? So they're a contact data product. They provide emails and phone numbers for salespeople. Where did the phone numbers come from? Did you source data from companies like PIPL, Spokey, or People Finders, all this like consumer data for phone numbers? How accurate was it? What are some other sources? Can we get data off of LinkedIn? You get the picture. Pretty much like, how did you build the product? Where did you get things from? So one method that ZoomInfo got data from was this community contribution. So when you sign up as a salesperson, you share your inbox and then you share the contacts in the email signatures in your inbox. And on average, every person, every sales rep has about 20,000 email signatures with phone numbers and emails. They kind of crowdsource that to create like a platform. So that was one thing that I learned from Santosh. We copied and implemented as well. That was a really good piece of information and advice that I never would have known otherwise. On to the second example, which is with Doug Hall. So Doug Hall was the first sales hire at Glassdoor and also the VP of sales where he grew one of our other competitors, Entello, to 30 million revenue during his time there. So I was asking very specific questions around like, hey, what sales collateral and training materials did you create? Can you show me examples? How did you train the new reps? How did you source the new reps to hire? How many meetings do you have? How often? What performance metrics to track? What were the compensation plans? Things like that, very specific. And whenever they gave an answer, I would dig deeper into, okay, like what did you do? Show me the sales script, show me like the questions that you ask in an interview, and just really diving deep and holding nothing back. Another good way to get inside information is to interview for jobs at your competitors. So looking at Apollo's job posts, you can see that they have a focus on SEO strategy. If we look at the other open jobs, we can see what other strategic areas like account management or security and compliance that Apollo is focusing on. Same thing with Lucia, one of our other competitors. We see that they're hiring for a director of product. And once you get onto the interview round, you can go all out. You can ask them about their company's future plans, about the risks, what was difficult, things that they're going to focus on, and the direction for various different departments, which would be a lot of good information. For any aspect of the business that I don't understand, I like to talk to a lot of industry experts. You can go to sites like intro.co, where you can literally book billionaire founders like the founder of Zillow or the founder of Reddit, Alexis Onaharin. There's other similar sites like ADP List, where if you don't know how to do product design or engineering or marketing, you can book mentors within these specific areas. And these will be guys that lead the different various functions at famous companies, like Airbnb or Slack, or like the head of marketing at Tinder. And then Clarity is another platform. Basically, whatever you don't know, you can either read about it online or you can just ask somebody that does, and they'll give you like lots of ideas to go off. So I was lucky enough to have the founder of Reddit, Alexis Onaharin, coach me in person, and he was kind enough to send me a preview of his book via email. I also had the founder of Canva, Cliff, coach me as well. So even very successful people, they'll find time to help you. Just reach out. You want to talk to users. At Contact Out, we spoke to perhaps more than 300 users. Y Combinator stresses this as the most important part of building a startup, because you need to understand the user's problems, their workflow, and if your business idea is a good solution to the user's problem, and do they even care? So I would reach out with a similar email seeking mentorship, in this case to recruiters that are the users for Contact Out, and I'll just be like, hey, we're building Contact Out. It's a sourcing tool that provides contact data and uses AI to help you write and personalize emails, and I'll be grateful for your mentorship and feedback on our product, and offering a $50 Amazon voucher for a quick chat to get feedback. And we also like to interview existing users of Contact Out to get their feedback on different aspects of our tool that they have used. These are all our customer interviews for the different functions like email generator, users that have churned and seeing, hey, why did they churn? Users that have used our list export. So we would would record all these calls and we would share it across the whole product team. So during the user interview, I'd like to ask the following questions. I'll start by understanding the user's workflow and what their day-to-day looks like on their job, the main problems that they're trying to solve, what are their biggest pain points, the tools and software that they currently use during their workflow, what they like about the softwares, what they don't like, what they care about, and what does success look like to them. Then I'll go into what do they think of my business idea? Will they pay? Do they like it? Dislike it? How does it compare to the current existing solutions? And what features or solutions would they want if they could just wave a magic wand? Sometimes you get good feedback here, sometimes you don't. Finally, where do the users hang out? Are there publications that they read? Are they on Twitter? What areas can we market to them and reach them during a sales process? Finally, the book Mom Test provides a good framework for interview questions to ask. So after you've done all that research, you'll become an expert and you'll be in a good position to create a product that is 10 times better than whatever is currently out there. The most important factor in determining success is grit, determination, and not giving up. It takes at least 7 years to get a PhD, 12 years to become a doctor, and at least 8 years to become a lawyer. Yet people think with startups that if you try and you fail after 2 years, 3 years, then you give up and it's too hard. That's not the case. It takes 10 years to become an expert in anything, and that includes startups. I don't know many people, in fact, I don't know anyone who has been doing a startup for 10 years and is not making at least $1 million. When I started my business 8 years ago, I'd think to myself, even if I tried for the rest of my life and at the end of my days, I still didn't succeed, it still would have been worth it to me because at least I tried. I would have the freedom to choose my own path. I get to build my own products, and it's better than being a corporate slave. Because startups are hard and take so much time, it's important to work on a problem that you're passionate about and makes an impact on the world. One of my biggest regrets is starting Contact Out motivated mainly by the money. Now, 8 years later, I'm not sure whether Contact Out makes much impact in the world. I mean, do we need another B2B company that sells data to other B2B SaaS companies? It's probably not the biggest problem that I could be solving in the world. Hence why I'm working more on some of this education stuff like this video, because I think if we can spread the knowledge of business building and entrepreneurship more widely, and we can also back people financially, then we can create Silicon Valley ecosystems all around the world, and we'll be able to create trillions in value by empowering people. I'll leave you with some words that Steve Jobs once said. Everything around you that you call life was made up by people no smarter than you, and you can change it, you can influence it, you can build your own things that other people will use. And once you learn that, you'll never be the same again. Stay hungry, stay foolish.